Hello, diary listeners. Happy Tuesday. This is the second part of Gunnar's diary entry. Thank you for coming back to hear it. I'm so glad you did. Again, it was very hard to title this episode because there was so much awesome information that Gunnar gave us here. But I had to make a choice. And so with that, this diary entry piece is called The Choice is Yours. Enjoy, listeners. Welcome to the Apprenticeship Diaries, where raw meets refined.
Let's be real, we're still working on refining.
What it took, what it takes, and the stories that are made.
Join us as we learn from professionals about how their stories began.
Not at all. No, you're 100% correct, and I'm feeling pulled toward, like, lately I'm feeling the opposite. Like I want to get better at tattooing in certain ways, but I'm kind of I guess what's the way I would like to put it, but like I understand where you're going. I kind of want to pull back and do a little bit of me art kind of for a minute, and not to pursue ego though. It's really just to give back to something, that I haven't done in a while, and that I think really did influence those early days of tattooing in a way that was innovative. Because my story was that I was fairly good, but everybody hated how I tattoo because it wasn't how you tattoo. They're like, this isn't tattooing. And I was like, well, people keep asking for it, and I keep getting busy. And they keep healing, and I if it's not tattooing, then what the fuck do you call it? Like, and it was watercolor is kind of that style that definitely the more you learn about tattooing and how to put color into the skin and saturate it and put those darker tones and black washes in there to kind of really give that color more depth, you understand how to play with those things a lot more. But in the beginning, I think because I painted, I was able to unlock a lot of things that weren't there for people who just learned to tattoo first. And, I had more tools to kind of play with. And I miss that. I miss exploring those spaces for myself. Yeah. And who knows, it might evolve into something that's completely other. I mean, as an artist, you should always diversify, right? Like that's important. So if nothing else,
or you learn to like add that into the work you're doing now, and it becomes an additional like thing that's like part of the piece,
Yeah. Well, and I really want to, it's important to me, like what we've been talking about, to really service my client. And if my soul is craving something, then I'm not able to fully give it to them in a way that I think is what they deserve for what they're needing and wanting. So if I'm feeling that kind of wanderlust, it's best to just lovingly say, now's not a good time. Like, I love you all. I'm going to pull back for a little bit, come back strong, hopefully. But in the meantime, there's so much talent out there. God bless.
Yeah. But I mean, it's super important. I think where you're at is exactly right, because the other thing, being a parent or whatever, or like I had to come home and help my family. That's like, I'm in Connecticut right now helping my family. And I had to we've been there was a lot going on here. There was a lot of like family, we had lost our mother recently, and there was like a lot of stuff going on. And what I realized is like, I wanted to be there for my family, but they were all kind of draining me because they were in an emotional space that I couldn't. It was like hard, they were trying to deal with what they were dealing with, and I was trying to be like supportive, but it was draining. And so I was like, I have to walk. I love you all to death, but I got to take a break from you, because if I don't take care of myself first, I can never be of service to you ever. And like, we don't really, as artists, this is like, it's so important that you go and you feed your soul, because you can't fill from an empty cup, like, right? Isn't that the saying? You can't fill from an empty cup. And like, sometimes we allow ourselves to get so like torn down, and we're not being our authentic selves, and we're living, especially nowadays, it's like I listen to the way people talk, and everybody's tiptoeing around cultural stuff, and it's like everybody's like in their like, I can't really be me because I'm afraid people might not like this, and I can't really show what I want to do because I might not be accepted artistically because I keep hearing tattoo artists say this, and it's like everybody's like, it's like a wilting flower.
They need
And they
an
can't
emotional
even
breakdown, man. Like,
yeah,
I had one. I
yeah,
recommend them.
yeah. I think everybody should do one at least once a fucking year. Yeah.
Fucking
But
let
you're
go,
watching,
man.
yeah, you don't want to wilt. Like that's what happens. And when you like allow everybody else's to become first, where they become more, it's like, I'm not saying be selfish, but I do believe you have to care for self. Like that's massively important. And being an artist, being a real artist is feeding, you've got to feed that part because it's hungry. It's like, I want to shine and I want to show you what I'm capable of. And God gave me a voice to share with the world. And I'm not sharing it because I'm trying to sell a product and not, I don't want to like do this thing because people might not like it, but it's like, I made you unique and I want you to go out into the world and share that. Like if I wanted everybody to be the same, you would all look the same. You'd all be like vanilla. Like that's not what you're here for. Like go be a unique human being. Like,
and
this is like,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's the irony that tattooing became like where our whole thing was about expressing our individuality through tattooing. And now all we are doing is just collectively getting our like, I'm a part of the club stamp. Like, it's like, man, if we as artists can't shine like artistically, then like, what are we teaching to people? Like, what are we really showing them? That you can't really be your authentic self because you might not be accepted. And we're so afraid of that. And we're so hungry for money that matters more than artistic expression at all given points. Like, I mean, the fact that these people are like, I don't have time to draw. And I'm like, dude, you made more in a day than I made all last month. I guarantee you can clear your schedule a little or go live a little bit more like conservatively for a minute and go be an artist for a minute. Like, it's okay. Like,
well, and I
give yourself
guarantee
permission.
If you just do it, I mean, if you're anything like me, you get into it and you'll eat less. You'll not need all of your basic things because it completely consumes your brain. Like when you're doing that and you're fully putting yourself into it, time flies, all this stuff. You don't eat. You don't even know what freaking time it is. You're like, oh my God. And then you look up and then you've done something epic and you're like, whoa, So, you make time. And then when you're in it, you're like, whoa. That was cool. And then you just do it again and again. It's awesome.
And then you just do it again. And then I think we're so busy right now trying to feed the algorithm. We're not feeding ourselves. Like
true. Very true. Question. Have you apprenticed anyone?
I tried before. I feel like I'm apprenticing people all the time now because now that I'm teaching, now that I'm teaching at a larger level, it's like I'm assisting in filling in the gaps of knowledge that people aren't handing down to their apprentices. And I feel like that's the role I've kind of like been okay with. Like, I don't need to bring a whole person into this. We're full. We got everybody we need. Like, what we do need to do is focus more on fixing the people we've got. And so I've kind of directed my energy in that direction. I don't have I'm not in the position to like really take on apprentice. I'm not in a studio enough to be able to be like, I can babysit you. I mean, it's a huge commitment.
It is.
It's like off-putting sometimes when I hear the amount of like complaining that apprentices do. And I'm like, you have no idea the amount of work you are, like with very little benefit. And especially like this idea that people want to get paid as apprentices and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, like, you mean you got to pay to like do the work? Like, could you imagine going to college and getting paid to go show up to college? Like, it's like you're getting an education and you want a paycheck. Like, it's,
there has to be some kind of reciprocity there then, because
people don't realize the investment of like the teacher. Like they don't, And it's off-putting. I've been to enough shops where people take on apprentices and then they hand off their apprentices to the employees there. And I'm like, this is gross. Like, those people, I didn't sign up to be the master teacher here. Like,
Right.
that's not my apprentice. How did I get stuck doing the work on this? Like, and you see that stuff happen too. And it's like, there's like these weird things that are happening where it's like a little off-putting in both directions, where it's like an apprentice should be like able to leave this facility. They should know how a studio runs. They should have to be a front. I am like by the idea that they should have to work the front counter for at least a year minimum to understand what the clientele looks like, how to talk with them, how to sell them a product, how to price a tattoo. Like, I think that should all be a part of it. I think they should learn how the business operates, how to operate a business. Like, there's so many aspects of it, because as a teacher, it's essentially like being a parent. My job as a parent was to make sure that when my kids left my house, they could survive without me, period. Right. As a master teacher, your job as a teacher should be to make sure when your apprentice leaves that, they're taken care of. They're all set. Like, that's it. They're good to go. You can send them out into the world and they can thrive. Like, they should be able to thrive, and they should have the knowledge to be able to assist someone when they get to a level of, they've done their journeyman part, they've done their working hours and their years, they've gained more knowledge, and they actually have something to offer as a teacher. And now you have like apprentices teaching. It's like the blind leading the blind. It's like, and most of them were never taught properly by their apprentice, their teacher in the first place. And it's like, man, we're failing on so many levels that it's weird sometimes.
Do you think, because I do think part of that is giving up parts of our profession, and I'm guilty of this. I'll admit, to manufacturers to do certain things to get right to tattooing. Like, we gave up needle making, and we gave up mixing our ink, and we gave up building our machines, and now you can find them on Amazon, a full fucking kit, like all of this. Do you think, because that's my speculation as to why it's happening like that, is that I don't think it's the videos that show people how to do certain things. I do think it's the part I played where I was like, dude, I don't want to learn how to freaking build the car. I just want to drive it. Like, that was my attitude. And I was like, that's not me, man. Like, why do I, like, somebody else can make that part. Let them have a job. And then I didn't realize, again, that power that I was giving up to somebody else to really keep me dependent upon them to know how to do that. And now you have, so many industries branching off from practitioners. And I think that's probably why we're losing a lot of that. One thing that I hope that Paradise really centers around is always bringing people in that are very grassroots craftsmen. I love how there's usually always a machine builder they try to get. There's always something there that's very integral to the very heart of the craft in the beginning. I'd love to, learn from I'm sure it would take lots and lots of sittings to even get close to the mastery of this. But watching a hand poke person, or, somebody who does, without a machine.
Tabori or something.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. And I think that idea that we're going to become, I don't think, I've been trying to like rally this idea recently of like trying to build this idea of community, like, we need to define what our community is. We need to start maybe defining what the terms are. Like, the word tattoo just means to put ink under the skin, right? To like leave a mark under the skin. Well, then you can't be mad at like these people that do micro tattoo. They're literally doing a tattoo. They put ink, it went on the skin. That is a tattoo.
Right.
Like, by definition, right? A tattooer is just the person who does that. They're a practitioner that just puts pigment on their skin. It doesn't make a difference the quality. It is just that. A tattoo artist creates art. That's a whole different thing. So we have these terms that we're not really defining. We're not defining where our values lie in terms of what we care about in tattooing, what we want to protect. And what people are not paying attention to is that you do have big business that sees a lot of money to be made in tattooing. Their job is to ensure that people are always buying their products. So they don't care how many new tattoo artists come in. And if they have to create the schools to make that.
Oh, they will.
To make, they're going to.
No,
yes.
they already are.
They already are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're building out the schools to make sure that they constantly have a series of supply and demand purchasers. They don't need they don't need clients. Right. They literally just need more tattooers, which means as tattoo artists, we're going to continually be inundated. And then people are going to sit in their booths and they're going to bitch about what's happening to the world around them. And then people like me go, cool, let's do something about it. And then they're like, la, 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 la. Like, okay, cool. Then stop bitching. Like, you really got to stop bitching. If you're not going to be a part of the solution, you're just a part of the problem.
Correct.
And you should accept that you're a part of the problem. Like, but people don't want to have any ownership that they are a problem by being lazy and just whining and sending fucking memes around about whining. And it's like, dude, you can take action now. We could have taken action 20 years ago. Nobody fucking did it. But today's a good day. Like, today is as good a day as any to take action. And we stand together and we say, hey, this is what we want to see. Because it's like I was talking with Gabe, and he brought up a great, like, AI is on the verge of taking everything. How are you going to compete against AI that can do it's not going to do it. Okay, great. Yeah, that's cool. You live in your illusion, and the rest of us will really pay attention to what's happening in the world. And it's coming. Whether you want to believe it's coming or not, it's coming. 3D it'll be able to work with 3D models. They'll be able to build it like a casement. They'll start to figure out how this technology is going to work. They'll, it'll know how to like Gabe said, it'll know how to like inject the right amount of lidocaine and, into like make sure it's a painless process. It'll be able to create any form of art. It's going to be able to communicate with other AI tattoo machines. If you have no person skills and you're not bringing any service to your clients, you're done for. Because you're not going to be able to compete artistically with what these things are going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to, like, the amount of like shop owners who I hear that talk about how lazy their artists are, that don't want to show up for more than 3-4 hours a day. They're fucking whining the whole time. They're shitty to their clients. If I'm a shop owner, I would replace you immediately with something that didn't complain and gave its clients a good product. So you're going to be easily replaced. Corporations will come in. They're going to take it all away from everybody. And we're going to sit here holding our empty pockets, complaining about what we should have done 20 years ago. And it's happening now. Like, the point is, you start now. Yeah. And if you don't start now, you're going to get beat. And people don't want to hear it. I can preach on this all day, and it's the same thing. I get hit with, well, it's already too late. No, it's not. It's not too late. Like, we can do something. And they do not want to take it's so like little. Like, I started this like group chat, and all I asked was, just tell me what you got. Like, I'll be your spokesperson. Like, you don't even have to fucking do anything. You just have to type, I really hope we protect this. That took 3 seconds, but you're not going to do that. But if I posted some type of thing that was controversial, I guarantee everybody would have something to fucking say. But when it comes to protecting themselves and protecting the world of tattooing, they ain't got shit to say. They just want to bitch. Right. And it's so depressing to watch, because it's like, you can do something. You literally can do something, and you have the power to do it, but you have to do it right now. It has to be today.
We have to do it. And you also have to know, like you had mentioned, the adversary. And I don't even want to put that on people. I see that more of as just like a spirit of control that turns things into what they're not supposed to be. You have the creator that created the technology, like E equals MC squared, and then you have that technology applied to nuclear weaponry. And so, so like, you have to be aware of where it'll go too. And you have to be aware of what can be taken from you very easily. And, a big thing for me is like kind of enlightening to people now about regulation. Like, you have to be very involved in that. as a practitioner, you have to care about it. I know we hate politics. I know we don't want to go there, but you have to, because if you don't, these people are going to take everything you love out of this. They're going, and what I want to protect is access. I want to protect somebody who is brilliant and who has talent, but might not have the means, and they could be, you know, in this field, but because they can't pay for this level of schooling or this kind of, they can't get in. Like, that's what happens with regulation after a while, is that it starts out very foundationally great because you got a lot of really good hearts and people who really care. But as the bureaucracy grows, what happens is that there's all these freaking rules and all this money and all of this ivory tower crap that keeps people out of it. And and it removes completely what it was always about, which was, like you said, this human connection, this beautiful thing that shouldn't be just for elite people. It shouldn't be just for based on how much you can pay to access it. It should be cool. I mean, you came from a punk rock place and
a poor ass family.
Right. That's the roots of tattooing in a lot of ways, is that tribal, it's communal, it's something that's rare, it's something that kind of says, damn the man. I don't want it to become something that the man is like saying all these things about it and saying what we can and can't do. And that it breaks my heart that people are like aligning with that in a lot of ways. Like, you're not going to be able to stop it. And again, I didn't see it when it was happening, but then when I was like, COVID was a huge eye opener for me. But yeah, that's what I want to protect, is I really hope that people understand that you have to have your savvy people who understand how to keep certain elements out of it. And I don't know if we've gotten too far, but what will happen is that people will just not comply. They'll just not comply.
Yeah, well, they'll not comply, but you're right. And if it becomes, everything right now has become about the dollar. Everybody is so like, the dollar has become the most like worshipped God in America right now. And I understand, like, people want to have nice things and stuff, but they have sold, they're willing to sell aspects of tattooing, because I don't care where it's manufactured, because I got this cool banner that says that I'm sponsored by this team. So I don't care how shitty this company is and that they're not contributing back to tattooing, because I'm rocking this banner and people think I'm important, or whatever that looks like. And it's like, if you allow them, they will dictate for you the way you operate, because those companies want to make money. It is the bottom line, and they've got shareholders, and shareholders are more important than your tattoo machine purchase, especially if you're getting a free one. And it's like, there's just so little, it's like, I had talked about stuff like this 20 years ago, and I have people that are like, I remember when you were saying where this was going, and here we are, and nobody listened to me then, and they won't listen now.
I probably would have been one of the people that were like, no, like, I'll be honest. I'll admit it. I was very starry-eyed. That's why I said COVID really affected me, because I think that's when my heart finally broke towards people. Like, it really broke. That's what's been hard for me to return to tattooing, is like,
these headphones might die.
Oh,
my headphones die. Will that speaker work? I don't know if it'll work.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
They're gonna die.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So COVID was different, and the whole world is different right now. And it sucks, because for someone like me, like, over the years, I became like a minimalist, and I've changed my lifestyle because I don't want to be controlled by circumstances. Like, if you ever want to see, like, where if you value money more than anything, you're easily manipulated to give up your values in other areas. Like, so I got rid of my sponsorships because I wanted to be able to talk on the companies that I didn't agree with anymore. I didn't want anybody owning my voice for me.
Good for you.
So I learned along the way, as I got, I did a lot of, like, disappearing into the woods and doing, introspective thinking. So
that's great.
For me, I've come to terms with the less that you need out of life, the more freedom you have. Like people don't realize how much they're slaves to, like right now, I almost didn't work the last 2 years. Like I was almost out of work. I was selling some paintings. I did a little tattooing, but I had to help my family. So all these people that are freaking out right now, I'm like, oh man, I was there like 2 years ago. I know what this feels like. I get it.
Same.
But I was in a position where I had a little bit of flexibility because I wasn't reliant on the fact that I had like a $7,000 a month rent, and I have like $7,000 a month car payments because I'm driving sports cars, and I don't have like a sneaker collection or whatever. Like I didn't have any of those things. I really just had to, like, as long as I had food and shelter, I was okay. I could be okay. That, like, people don't understand the amount of freedom that allows you, like, because all the money you end up making is survival. Like I don't need it to like buy a thing. I can use it to like take a trip to go see my daughter, or I can make, like it becomes a tool to do the things I want to do, but I'm not reliant on it all the time.
I also think it's a key to being a good mentor, because people come to you, and I know this because I've had this, like you kind of get paralysis because you don't know how to break up what you're trying to do into smaller chunks. And so if you're the kind of person who's kind of simplified your life and you know how to prioritize those things, and you have the heat of that kind of priority system where it's not all flashy and flary and stuff like that, you have the ability to really guide somebody, I think, from that place, because you can simplify everything and really talk from a place of like, this is all you really need. Like you can always build from there, but this is all you really need. And it's harder to do that, I think, and that's why I started this podcast, was because I was like, it's really hard sometimes to hear people from like this status talk about what they did, because you just feel like you have so far to freaking climb.
Yeah.
So I love that you did that with your life, that you kind of like, you did a Chappelle. Like,
that's the best way to put. Yeah, I did that for sure. But I think like the hard part is that we as a species, especially in America, like, well, it's probably universal now, are so attracted to like, look what they have. They must be successful. Like, I think my life is pretty successful. I don't have that stuff, but I have my family's good. I get to see them. I see my friends. I get to make art I enjoy. I'm not like bound to like be forced into any particular direction because I need to like make sure I'm making a bunch of money to do these things. So I feel like I'm very successful, but in the eyes of our culture, it isn't successful. And look at who look at the type of people we've put on pedestals. It's like you have the Kardashians and these like people who have low moral value or are non-contributors, but they have wealth status.
Yeah.
Status. And it's like they have no value. They have little to no value, but we worship them because they have status, which is so how like askewed we are as a culture, that like you could have the wisest like monk come through and have all this wisdom, and then people would be like, yeah, but he's wearing rags. And it's like, yeah, but he could probably teach you more than anything, like how to be genuinely happy, because you're all fucking like so miserable. Like people are miserable, and you've got all these mental health issues you don't want to deal with, and you're like hiding in your different like vices, and you don't want to handle any of that. But you've got this, like, instead, this guy could teach you a path that's like got some wisdom to it. It's not just flash. It's like there's something there, and they won't listen to him. They'll let it pass on by, and then they'll be like, yeah, but they're not going to make me rich, and I'm not going to have a bunch of girls or, cars or whatever the thing is that people, think is going to make them, fulfill them. And then they get like, that's where I ended up in my path, is like, I hit what would be the pinnacle of success in tattooing. Like, I mean, I was on, I had art on MTV and TV before TV, before the tattoo TV stuff. So I had hit this like there were like billboards in LA with my paintings on it. And I was like, I had this like ounce of success. I could go to like bars and people knew who I was and stuff. And then I was like empty inside. Like none of that mattered at all. Like I fought so hard for it. Like I left my kids behind to like pursue my career. And I, like was like neglectful in my relationships because I just was so hyper focused. And then I got everything. I was like, this is it. This is all the things. And then I was like, oh, this is like hollow. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Like, and so then I lost it all because I stopped care. Then I like went into a depression. I didn't care. So like for me, it was like, what does, I had to rebuild my own value system, and which is like massively different than what I see in tattoo. Like I find it sometimes hard to be relatable to people because I look at the things and I'm like, I'm not impressed. Like, I've got friends who like have, massive homes and super cool, like cars. And then they're like, man, check this out. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't,
same. I'm not.
Yeah. I'll be in the woods if you need me. My headphones are going to turn off. So I'll see if the speaker works. Is it there?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
I might not have any sound.
Can you hear me?
Where is my...
I can still hear you.
Let's try that. Is that better?
Oh, yeah. I can still hear you.
Okay, good. I just had to switch to the iPad.
That's great.
Yeah. So I just had to, I switched my values. And so my life is like, I'm so simple now that I can live. Like I went down to the Amazon and spent 2 weeks in the Amazon in just a screened in tent. And there was no power, no electricity, no.
That's awesome.
It was silent. So you couldn't even talk to people. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, and so I've become so like, sometimes I feel like I'm massively unrelatable to people because they're like, dude, you're fucking weird. And I'm like, well, that's just my that's my path in life. I'm not pushing it on you, but I will say if you learn to simplify some areas, you'll have a lot more freedom. I guarantee you that for sure. Like, and I'm not saying don't go make money, but you might want to put that in the savings account and be prepared for a rainy day. And you might want to invest in your future and, maybe buy some insurance for the future, like stocks or so, like.
Well, I mean, either that or like you said, be willing to strip it down. I mean, I think I posted something recently that was a guy saying, I think we have life dysphoria in, especially in these Western countries. He's like, I think people forget that not too long ago, a hot shower, they didn't have it. They didn't have a hot shower. Nope. And he's like, these people who did great things 100 years ago that you admire, they didn't have a hot shower. And he's like, and after I posted it, somebody who I exchange a lot with spiritual insights with, he said, it really becomes a lot easier when you realize you don't deserve anything. Yeah. And, just to have that attitude.
I mean, my grandfather's house, they didn't have, my grandfather grew up on like a poor farmhouse. They had an outhouse. And that wasn't that long ago. So give me 1 second, sorry.
Sure.
I've got two puppies that are over here trying to get my attention. So
Aww.
There, come on. You'll hear them come running in.
That's awesome.
Take your snacks.
That's so awesome.
I know. I'm so lucky. I love these dogs. I'm like babysitting my sister's dog, but it is pretty sweet.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just babysitting my brothers the other day. You mentioned family. It's so, part of the reason, I'm so excited about that because you're in a place right now that I can really relate to. So if you've wondered about being relatable, you're clicking with me, man. Like I have totally felt in the past few years, it's not even that there's a lot urgent going on with my family. I just felt this need to get close to them. I think it was just COVID being like, dude, you're so lucky they're here. Yeah. You're so lucky that you still have them. Screw everything else that you think that they should be, what you want from them. That's stupid. You're too fucking old for that. You be happy that you have this and that you still get to access it and, focus. And that's where I'm at now. My dad just went under the knife this morning because he had to get some surgery done in his neck. I mean, he's incredible. But, that was something, it kind of kept me up at night because I was like, dude, he's going under anesthesia tomorrow. He might not come out, there's no guarantee. So, I sent him a prayer, just saying, Dad, I love you, come back, whip my ass in pickleball. I need you. Like those kind of things. Like I really want to get close to my family. And I love your message because it's something for people to keep in mind as they grow this and to, I don't know if you're going to ever get in the way of like building that ivory tower or that Tower of Babel and then having it fall. I do think that people have to learn that. But that's why I like older people, and that's why I like storytelling and all of that, is because you learn so much.
It matters. I mean, what they say, knowledge is or wisdom is knowledge applied, right? So it's like you had to live the life to get the stuff, and that's what, like, even with tattooing, and we're like, it's to kind of come back full circles, and with the concept of community is we sometimes are like almost shamefully independent, even though we need others. Like you need other people. And I grew up like, I'd been like my mother had done the abandonment gig when I was a kid. So that's what, like, you latched onto the family wherever you could find that like family. So it was like my skateboard friends or my punk rock culture or my tattooing. It was like you wanted to be around other people that shared, trauma bonding, I guess. Yeah. Is what they call it, right? And it's like, so we kind of like need each other more than we realize. And on top of it, the beauty about like, once you start to realize like what your community is, you start to realize you have the resources are all around you for those areas that you need lifted. So if you embrace your community and you become a part of it, and then you're like, well, I've got a weakness in marketing, but I have a friend within my community that has a strength in marketing. So I can turn to them and I can ask for their assistance or help. Like, or if, like I want to start a project or whatever, and I don't have the skill set, but I know someone who does, because I've allowed them in my life and within my circle. And now I have that. And I think sometimes, like as tattoo artists, we forget how large our community has the possibility of being, and the people we've touched and reached. So if we wanted to do like lobbying, I guarantee we have clients within, like if they're not in the tattooers, there are the clients out there that have this knowledge to assist in this. Yeah. If you wanted to like build our own organizations, we have the people that know how to promote, that know how to build organizations, that know how to like run the marketing and all that. Like we have all the people, we have all the tools if we work together to do the things. And it's just like getting it together.
Hello, diary listeners. Sorry for this interruption, but I had to do a brief promotional recording / advertisement, as we would say in the US, about Paradise Tattoo Gathering. I am aiding this event in shouting it out. I'd love to meet some of you in Paradise and, get to give you a hug for all of the awesome interactions and, the gratitude I have for your listening time. In order to do this and to attend just on its base level, we're going to be meeting in Western Massachusetts. It's at Jiminy Peak Mountain Resort. It's an awesome, awesome venue. And what's great about it is that you are kind of trapped on a mountain with all of these truly dope artists, and there's only so many places that we can go. So you're bound to run into people that you probably only dreamed about meeting. And on top of that, these artists are going to be doing amazing seminars. I'm going to be giving away a seminar on how to be an awesome apprenticeship prospect. So that's going to be my freebie that I offer. I'm also going to be tattooing this year. So whatever way you're coming at this, you're going to go to www.tattoogathering.com to get your Artist Weekend Pass. If you get it now, they're giving away a early bird sweatshirt with it, which they're pretty dope. I have to say that what I like about the sweatshirt is they're not black. It's not a black hoodie. Whenever you go to tattoo conventions, it's just a sea of black hoodies, and it's just, I mean, I guess you can find the tattoo convention, but here we're gonna be on a mountain. And it's going to be hard to avoid the tattoo convention because it's just going to be there. And that's all that's going to be there for the most part. And they do have at this time of year, October 24th to the 27th, pardon me. They do have a Halloween haunted house kind of thing that they set up. So that's pretty cool. But apart from that, it's off season. It's beautiful. The leaves are shining. It's just a wonderful nature spot for anybody who's interested. And there's all level of things happening. If you would like to tattoo, again, go to www.tattoogathering.com, fill out your booth application. It's such a great convention to kind of work because it's intimate. It's not as busy as those normal tattoo conventions. You can get all manner of things if you go to that webpage, find out about Paradise, and just know that I will be very happy to meet you in Paradise, as this is an event that I try to make every time it happens. All right, listeners, back to our podcast.
And, and I had to realize that as I got older, being a father, it's you have to be at some point choose to be the chief of your tribe. You've got to be the chief of your tribe, and your job is to protect your tribe. And so if you see tattooing as your community and you see yourself as being I want to be someone who can protect this, you got to be kind of a warrior, and you've got to be a leader. And you've got to have these skill sets to be willing to fight for what you think is valuable and important, and protecting the people that are within your community, and not just assaulting them or assailing them or dividing them. And it's we're not in that place. We're so far removed, we got to this place where we're social media is going to bring us together, and it tore us apart. We have this collective of people that want the world to be more tolerant, and it's the most intolerant collective that's happening right now. And it's you don't have to hate me because of who I am. I'll accept you for who you are, but I need you to accept me for who I am, and flaws and all, because we're all human, and we're all just going through this. And it's I can pretty much slide into most tattoo studios and get along with most people, as long as they're vibrating at the same level. I don't like using too much of that, whatever they call that
woo stuff,
woo language or whatever. Yeah. But that idea of but there are people that are they're just not, everything is they're, I don't know, their
activists
or their values. Well, the other collective where the values are so different than mine, where they're more I just want to make money and, be popular and be cool. Sometimes I struggle with that, what they're chasing, and their vibe they put off sometimes is super off-putting to me. I'll be around it, and it's that, hustle culture. I do not enjoy hustle culture mentality, because I'm oh man, you guys are a little toxic. It's a little rough to be around. But
yeah, it's very true. Well, because I think it's weird because it's very insecure, and you can tell it right away, because if you're not joining them, then it's kind of like that, join me, and come on, asshole, join me, drink the drink, do the thing, jump off the hill, and you're no, I don't have any interest.
They're cool either. I just want to do my thought.
You go and do it, man. God bless, have fun. But yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I do think as you get older, those things are more essential, because and you just realize I'm not here to be something for everybody. I want to be something integral. I want to stand for something, and I do have values. I do think it's important to try on a lot of things and kind of see things first. And that's fine. That's where a lot of my gaps, I think, fall into, is I tried on certain things, and I can see what I led to maybe in attitudes of other people, but it was certainly just, well, I don't know, so let me see what I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Once you get to a point where you're like, no, now I know. Now I know. It's not to mean that I'm not going to grow and that I'm not going to experience things. I'm not going to task myself, but it does mean that there are certain things that I know are not my God, that are not my motivation, and I don't have any interest in pursuing those things or adding the flame to this fire. Like, I'm not doing it.
And the beauty is there's enough space for everybody to explore those work, like there's definitely enough. I mean, you look at tattooing and how massive it is, and it's like, there's space for everybody. Like, I don't need to be in your club to be a part of the tattoo community with you.
Correct.
Like, you go to your clubhouse and I'll go to my clubhouse, and we can have our own, like, there's conventions now, for example, like that, where I just don't feel like the energy is not for me. They're like loud and overwhelming, and everybody's there to be seen rather than to be like helping, like, and then you can go to a thing like Paradise, let's say, and you can be around people that are like looking to grow together and share information and better, the community as a whole. And so there's like areas where I'm like, nope, this is my tribe. Like, these are my people. Yeah. And this isn't my world. And I'm not sad that like, I'm glad that world exists for those folks. Like, I'm glad you have that. Like, I'm not like, I don't want to go to shows with suspensions and stuff that like isn't my world, but for the culture that likes that, that's there for them, and that's the beauty, is that we have those like things. Right. But at some point, all of us should come together and be like, we really need to protect tattooing from these other things. Like, we don't.
Could you talk about that?
It doesn't even have to be an enemy. We have to have a common goal. Like, we should all common goal. Like,
you had mentioned there's a organization, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on them, but you wanted to join them. That were about, what was it again?
The Alliance of Professional Tattooers.
Yes. Yeah. Can you talk about it any?
So they've been around for a while. When they were around when I was coming up, they
got some baller cast people involved. I was reading about them a little bit.
Yeah, they got started, I guess, sometime around, I think, like 1992, or I think. There was them, and then there was the National Tattoo Association, which were two like organizations or guilds we kind of had. The NTA, I guess, had kind of fallen apart. The problem is that they weren't like, I don't feel like they ever like did a really bang up job of promote, it's not to knock them, but I don't think they did like a great job of like promoting, because they were always like a background thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they were never something where I was like, oh, this is like super, important that we become a part of. Right. Now I'm like, oh, because also things were kind of steady state. Like, we didn't really have the, like, you had like to do bloodborne pathogens and stuff, but like the legislation for tattooing was never really out of hand or whatever. And now we're in a place where it's become very important that we have like an organization like this, because they are like set up they're like a nonprofit organization. They're the longest running organization. I apologize if you hear my dogs rustling in the background. They're the longest like running organization we have in tattooing, and they're actually recognized by the government as like a viable representative of our industry. So, or the trade, because they kind of like are more about the trade, less than the industry. So their job is to protect the tattoo artist as a trade, as a craft or trade. And so I just started learning more about them, because I, was like, we got to do something. And then, one of my friend Russ was like, listen, this organization, it already exists. Like, they've got the like stuff in place. They've got the people that are like doing these things. What they need is membership, and they need people to care enough to support them. And so it's like, even if you don't want to do anything, it's like $150 and you become a member. And that comes with like whatever privileges that they offer. I think they do bloodborne pathogens through them.
I saw that.
Yeah. So they offer the educational aspects for tattooing, but I think they're getting ready to like start moving into like bigger educational things where they'll have like talks and, like where you can, where they'll kind of have like committees where they talk about what's happening in tattooing and you can get involved and stuff like that. So it's, it's better off you just go to, the website and look them up. But I think that it's like good that we have these organizations. And if they had, with the amount of tattoo artists today, if everybody gave $150, I think I don't know. I think it's just for the year. So it's not even like, it's not
consistently.
It's like a half hour, a tattoo, and depending on who you are, it's like, you pay that fee. And then if they had like all the tattoo artists that are tattooing currently in the US, they would have enough money to likely hire a lobbyist to fight legislation for us, right, to protect us from certain things. And they're the ones who are getting on right now, and they're talking about like when companies come up and say, hey, this product in your community is causing cancer, they're the ones that are like kind of holding some of these companies to task. So it's super important that these people are, what they're doing. And the worst part is like they're in the shadows, not getting near the credit they deserve for all the work they're doing.
Right.
And they're not getting the support from their community in the way they should. So, it's like, and so that when I connected with them, I was like, well, I'm out there teaching, I'm out there like, I've kind of at this point, I consider myself an orator in tattooing, like a voice. Mostly what I've learned is like, I listen to what people say and I bring it to light. That's all I do. It's like, I'll interject somewhat of my opinions on things, but for the most part, I just bring the topic up so that other people can talk about it. And so this was one of the things I'm like, I have enough of a reach where I'm out talking to people, even more so now because I'm out doing all these conventions and I'm introducing myself to all these people now, more than I ever did. And I was like, maybe I can just talk about it so that people are even aware that it exists. And then I can get other people talking about it. And then we spread the word. And then they get a sense of power to help, like it empowers them to have the financial capacity and the support of their community to, protect us in ways we wouldn't have the ability to do, you or me on our own, So
definitely, as long as
pretty awesome that they're there.
The only thing that I can say to that is understand certain legalities, because I think that's a lot of where people, you mentioned lobbyists, you mentioned all these things. And when you give that power up to somebody to stand as a representative, there has to be checks and balances, and you have to hold each facet of that accountable. And if you don't know how to hold them accountable, that's where it goes off the rails. Is you're paying this money and you think this is happening and you're like, oh shit, what are you doing? Like, no, that's not what we want. And that's a thing too with 501c3s or nonprofits, is that they do have regulations under the government.
They're not allowed to lobby, but they can hire lobbyists, I believe.
Okay.
But the other thing is that
you got to be careful, because you don't know.
Organization that you can join, and then you have a say in it. So I mean, the only way to do it is you become a member, and then you go, hey, my voice matters too, and this is where. But this is what, like, why this all like, why even just saying what you value matters. Like, if this is what you really believe in, then you have people who, maybe put themselves in the place. Like, as I get older, I'm more in a position where I'm likely to be able to assist in those areas, because my time in tattooing becomes less and less, but my time protecting my community becomes more and more available. So there's these things that we can do, it's I agree. You just need people to care enough to like get behind it,
Yes. And keep caring.
and spreading the word. Like, it's like, that's why when I was like, I started reaching out to people in my community, because I was like, if I can talk to all the teachers, if I can talk to the leaders, people that are running the podcasts, if I can get out there and we start having these conversations, this is the stuff that's important. It's like the way I tattoo is not important. You're not going to learn a trick from me about tattooing over a podcast. Yeah. But if you learn how to protect your community, or even just feel like you're a part of it, like some people feel like, I'm not a part of this. People don't care about me. And it's like, yeah, we do. Like, like maybe somebody doesn't, but like, I would like you to be a part of it, but I want you to care enough. And if you show me you care, then we're a part of the same community. Like if you don't, you care, if all you care about is fame and money and you don't give a fuck about like what happens in the world of tattooing because you got your fucking new set of free inks, we're not on the same page. Like you instantly are off my page. Like you're in your own, that's a different demographic of tattooing. But if you show me you're like, give a rat's ass, then we're on the same page. Like we can grow together. I will support you. There was nobody who's like, at least in the last 5 years, maybe like 5 years earlier, there's very few people that can say they met me at a convention where I was a dick to them outright. Like, you know, it's like, I'm always willing to talk to people. So it's like, I will make you a part of my community if you come up and are nice and aren't a prick to me. Like I'll mirror the way you are. So if you're like a certain way and I'm a prick to you, chances are that's how you're coming off. Like I'm really good at giving, you know, kind of mirroring the way people are. But
no, and you're valuable even not tattooing. My boyfriend, you know, loved talking to you, and you guys shared a lot about, you know, your workouts and things like that, and taking care of your body, and like you're a good guy.
I'm getting too old for my health. So I only get one cell. I don't want to be trapped in a human body prison.
Yeah.
Like that's awful.
It's very valuable, you know, like it's very valuable. No, I'm excited about that. And I want to look more into it. When you brought it up, it got me looking. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah. Ben might be at Paradise, maybe. But I did talk. I think he said if he's not, I think there's going to be 2 representatives from APT at Paradise. So I actually got names. So we'll be able to connect with them and maybe we can get them on a panel.
Oh, I'm excited. Well, Caroline Evans, I know, is there, right? Yeah. I think she's coming.
I wrote it down, so maybe that was one of the names, and then maybe maybe they can get them on like stage and actually address, you know, talk and teach us stuff.
Yeah, she was really vocal the last time.
Caroline Evans, James Wisdom will be the 2.
Oh, and I love James. Yes, James is another one.
Yeah, so maybe they can tell us more about it because they're definitely going to know more than I know right now, and then maybe they can share. And that's great. You know, that's a good opportunity for all of us to gain education and maybe, you know, help support them.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. That's really, really cool.
But like I said, it's like you have to take action. And it's the little steps, but it's like, it can matter, you know, like these are just steps of action. Right. So, well,
and you know, I've seen people online, like you said, you know, they're like, I don't have time for this. And I'm like, well, then why the fuck are you here? Like at all? Why are you saying anything? Yeah. And you're getting mad at the one person who's telling you, like, who's engaging with you about this discussion. Clearly we both care. But like, if you took some of this energy that you have, that you're here with, and put it over here, it would do a lot more.
The people that say they don't have time are the ones who are usually on my or on these feeds complaining the most. And it's like, dude, you got enough time to be on IG? Like, like I'm on here and I'm doing the thing and I'm drawing and I'm doing the things. Like there's time. Like we put our time where we care. Yeah. If you care about tattooing, you'll make the time. Like,
well, and I'm giving you gems here, dude. Like I don't have to take this time to be here talking to you. I mean, if we're talking about time, it's both of ours. Yeah. Like it's not just yours. Like it's mine too.
Yeah, people don't, you know, it's sometimes that they don't realize it, what they're actually what people are giving up, you know, to like help them, you know, like that you're providing a service for them. And they're like, well, it's not, it's like, well, this is a different service, like, and it's probably better, more beneficial to you than me posting a tattoo. Because you're not going to gain anything from me posting a tattoo, but a bit of knowledge could go a long way, like, or a bit of conversation, or, you know, like, or, you know, allowing you to have a voice or a platform, you know, like, because on the stuff I post, it's mostly I'm just giving people a place for them to talk and inform. I'll express an opinion, but mostly I just let them feel like they have a place to leave their voice because, you know, it's
that's
like
cool.
a collective, like, so, you know, that matters. Like when they get to have a response, it's like, yeah, but I just gave you a format. Like you got to respond. So you do have time.
Yeah.
Like, and now you can decide how you want to respond. Like you could be negative and do how you did, or you could be positive and, you know, say, you know, what can I do to carry on what you're doing, or to like reach an audience with what I'm doing, you know? So.
Yep. And that's good that you're doing that. And it teaches people a lot too, because communication, I mean, whether it's painting, whether it's tattooing, whether it's verbal, you know, you're teaching people that art by having those kind of that kind of time centered back and forth that, you know, if they're online, they very well might not be doing that anywhere else. That's the thing, is that that might be the only space they're actually really expressing themselves that way, because it's safe there. And so if you're giving them a very kind opportunity to run those kind of, you know, drills out and kind of flesh out these ideas, it's an amazing thing to teach somebody and to allow for.
I like the idea of critical think, like where you can turn shit over in your head and like, you know, like I like, sometimes I'll make an argument of stuff I don't even agree with just to see where I stand with it. Because then I'm like, oh shit, now that I've like said it like that, maybe I do believe it's like something. But there, you know, it's like there's so many aspects of tattooing that we can like flip over, like, and if you allow yourself, your opinions on things will change over time. Like things that I once was so like strict in one viewpoint on, over time, I'm like, well, I've loosened up on my view on that thing. Or like, I'm not like, you know, too much like with tattooing, like very rarely, the way people do things, like I always say, like, your business is none of my business. The way you run your business is none of my business. Like, unless it affects tattooing as a whole in a negative manner, often, like, I don't, you know, if you're charging $5,000 a day or $200 a day, I don't care. It doesn't bother, you know, that's none of my business. That's your business. And so stuff like that doesn't, that has changed a lot, because I used to always be bothered by all, you know, all the things. But it's like, there's areas where you start to loosen up on, and there's areas where you're like, I'm going to double down on this thing because this does matter. This thing does matter, you know?
When it's that you can catch a fish for a man, or you can teach him how to fish kind of thing. Like a good teacher, I think, gives you the kind of things to keep resubmitting yourself to the task of finding who you are and what your voice is, and shows you that all these tools, like you said, you know, you have this whole community, you have all this access, you know, they just show you where it is and they point you in the right direction. And they teach you how to source that so that you can actually turn up the light that's already there, instead of just shoving a bunch of shit in. I had one guy ask me why I loved going to, or why I enjoyed Jeff Gogwe seminar. And I said, you know, what I loved about it is that when I went to a second one, I found that I didn't need it, that he had given me so much in the first seminar that let me know that I belonged, that my journey was valuable, that I would find all the techniques that I needed to. And it was all attitude based. It was all perspective based. And it gave me enough insight to know how to look out for certain things and navigate certain things. The technical skills are going to come with just time under the needle, you know, like resubmittance to that. But when you're turned up by people who, you know, allow you to reconnect with that passion and that source, and to know how to harness that again, and how to put those blinders on to everything else, that's the kind of stuff. And that's why I love Paradise. And that's what I saw in you. It's like Paradise does that, you know? It's a really cool event, and I hope a lot of people come.
It's a really cool, it really, and the location's awesome. But it's such a valuable, it's valuable because it gives you, it's also like laid back enough that it gives you the freedom to explore without feeling under pressure to like perform or anything. And that's kind of really nice too. But you know, I think about that sometimes because there's a part of like what you just were saying, because there's a part of me that like, I don't really do like a lot of technical tattoo talks. I feel like there's better technicians out there. I think the area that I thrive in is more like life skill stuff, like how to like balance parts of your life so that you don't get overwhelmed, you know, how to handle that. And as I've kind of gotten further along and maybe even a little bit like looking at things, there's a part of me that sometimes I think like I might try and start trying to do maybe like to offer communication, like teach tattooers how to communicate properly, how to, you know, communicate their boundaries, how to communicate, like, you know, like there was a question you had sent me in the initial thing, and it was, it had to do with the fact of like, you know, what, you know, terrible thing did you have to deal with in your apprenticeship? And then I was like, well, I didn't really ever have to. And there's a line I had heard that's like, I'm going to screw it up right now, but it's essentially like, you get out of life what you're willing to accept, essentially, you know, like what you're willing to tolerate. And so these people who get like these apprenticeships and then they complain about like, it was so bad, it was so rough, it was so horrible. And it was like, at any point you had the chance to leave. Like this is a prison sentence. Like you have freedom. You have freedom, like you have free will. And the beauty about free will is you can step away from things that do not serve you. And then you find something that serves you. And the things that I watched, like where people will tolerate and then they complain about it. And it's like, well, you accepted that into your circle. Like you've allowed that into your world. And now you're upset that it happened. But you have the strength and the power. And it's like just teaching people such a like simple skill is like, you have enough power to walk. That's the beauty of free will. Like you were given free will and you can exercise it at any given point. This isn't prison sentences. Like if you have a shop that's not serving you, find another shop. Like, there might be some shops out there that like, they've got like, I mean, I've definitely heard some horror stories from years ago that were really bad, where like people were a little bit like indentured servant stuff. But for the most part, the people who I've met that do complain, I'm like, did you have to take, like, you accepted that. And now you're sad that you put up with it and you're mad at that person. Like you should be mad at yourself because you're not claiming ownership of the like capacity that like you could have walked away. And people don't like hearing that because then it takes the burden of like victimization off. Like, oh, well, I wanted to be mad at them. Like, so I don't want to say that. Like, you won't find me in a situation that I don't enjoy being in. Like, and I've worked around some great people, but I've also like been in situations where I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm the bad apple in the studio. Like they're all getting along great and I'm miserable here. And I'm going to be the Eeyore in this shop. So I'm going to walk away and I'm not going to do that to them. Like, and sometimes it's like having enough self-awareness to recognize like that. And it's interesting to me that how some people just were never given those life skills to like do those things, or to like say, I don't want to do your listen, I'm not good at that project and I don't want to take it on because you're not going to get the best service from me. And I'm not like, I'm going to be stressed out all goddamn day. And I'm going to be, you know, it's like, being able to set up boundaries, like even with simple things, like, and we accept stuff because people are like non-confrontational and they're afraid and they don't have like the confidence to say, I don't want to do this. Like this goes against my moral code, or this goes against, you know, and it's like, it's easy to play victim in things, but sometimes you have to have the confidence to like stand strong and be like, listen, I also don't want to be a victim. And so I'm going to avoid that. But I'm going to do it in a way where I'm empowering myself to step away from this situation. And, you know, and then they build confidence in that. And then they like realize like, oh, I can be stronger and I can say what I feel, because I watch that happen in interpersonal relationships all the time. And it's like, people get stuck in these unhealthy relationships. And it's like, well, if you were miserable, why didn't you tell them that, you know, what it was that was hurting you or bothering you? Instead, you just kept it all bottled up and you didn't even like bring it to their attention. and now you're mad, and now you got a shop owner who like is got 6 artists who've been complaining in secret, or when they leave, but the shop owner has never ever heard the complaints aloud, and was unaware of them, or vice versa, and it's like, if they could be like, hey, why don't we have a sit down, let's talk like adults, let's bring out our grievances, let's get this all out on the table. Like these things that like are so just important in life. I mean, outside of tattooing, these are important in life. And it's like, you can build the life you want when you have like the confidence to step into it like that. I think there's something there in tattooing that is like sometimes lacking, and it'd be nice,
Well, definitely within art, because I think that that's one of the great things that Paradise does, is that we usually do collaborative drawing efforts.
Yeah.
And when you do those, you realize that it kind of removes that whole I can't thing, because I think that's part of the problem too, is people kind of, without trying, they automatically remove themselves from it and remove themselves from trying. And I think when you are asked to just put a little piece into something, then you're kind of like, oh, well, that was fun. It didn't hurt me. I'm not the whole thing here. And it's very whimsical. And, I did this once with a girlfriend of mine who's a nurse, and she like, I don't art. I'm like, everybody arts. I was like, her name's Nicole. I was like, Nicole, I put permanent things on people for a living. I was like, we can go outside and burn this shit in effigy afterwards. Like, none of this matters. Like, it can be anything. You're kind of framing this in a way that you're kind of bound by what you think art is. Art can be anything. I was like, look around your house, look at the colors, look at the patterns, it can be anything. You could just throw paint at this. We could burn it and then put another canvas behind it and paint something in that and like have some depth there. I was like, it can be anything. That's what art is. It's experimental. It can be whatever you want. Like, dive into it, play, have fun. And then, we did this whole switch thing that like every time that she'd feel uncomfortable, I was like, well, let's switch. You can have mine now. And it like, and it let her know that like, I don't give a shit. You're not going to do anything wrong. Yeah. And that's, I think, what gets people out of this, again, this whole fixation on what your life has to be like. It's like, dude, it can be anything. Make it. Have fun. Remember to play. It should be fucking fun.
Yeah. You know what got me on that collaborate that I learned the like big lesson I got out of collaborating is the like letting go, because you would like spend time developing something and then someone's like, yep, fuck that shit. And then they like come and draw right over it. And I'm like, but I just spent all this stuff. So it was like this, like, oh, okay, I've got to learn to let go. It's okay to let go. Like, this isn't that big deal. And then I was like working, at Paradise, I met, there was like a couple of young ladies there, and we were sitting at a table during the drawing at the bar when everybody was at the bar. And they were like too nervous to get up and do the collaboration. So I pulled out my sketchbook and I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's just do one at the table. It's small and intimate, and you guys can just draw. And you could see there was like this, like everybody wants it to be perfect. Like they're like, I got to put my best foot forward or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be, just relax, like have fun. It's just a doodle, like just doodle. And then they drew, like we drew like a thing. And then I just came and like drew this big red X over the whole thing. And I was like, you see how little that mattered? And then we just switched the page. Like, now let's have fun. Like,
that's
it's
perfect.
Like, you got to let go sometimes and just enjoy the process. And sometimes we get so caught up in overthinking like the process. And it's like that failure to perform because you're like too much pressure on yourself. Like,
and like doing, it would be nice if when you're like, I mean, I can always ask for these things. Paradise has done it before where they've got nude models and things like that, but doing like, 2-minute sketches, 3-minute sketches, 5-minute sketches, those kind of drills too.
Gave up about that.
Yeah. It would be a great thing to do. I've nude modeled before, so I'd even be willing to do it. I'm tattooing this year at the convention, so I'd have to ferret out some time, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah, nude model, because even like doing drapery and clothes is kind of like cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we could probably get some people to
model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd sit up there.
I like that.
And
I have to call this soon because I got 2 restless dogs that need to go.
Yeah.
We could either pause and come back to this, or we can call it soon.
We can call it very soon. No, I've kept you for far enough, and I think we've explored most of it.
So
yeah, no, this is a good chunk, and this will be a couple episodes, I think, that we'll be able to break up too for people, because most people don't have an attention span. Yeah. But no,
we can do this again. This was good.
Absolutely. You're awesome, Gunnar. Do you have any? Well, let's wrap it, because we could go on and on. I could keep you and these dogs.
Again, we should do it again.
We should. We will. What? Do you have any closing words?
One of these things one day. I gotta someday figure out this part of my life, because I'm like, I have these messages and I'm not conveying. Like I just write because it's so convenient. Like I'll just write in the morning and then I'll just post it and take off and do my life. But sometimes I think the podcast, although I don't want my face seen, I like the idea that it's just like, I think sometimes people get distracted in that stuff. And
you have a good face though.
Thanks. But I like the idea of like, just
the message.
I like the messages. Mm-hmm. I like the messages. So,
same.
We're saying.
Well, I wanted to first say that this was partially a selfish want too. Like I just wanted to talk to you again. You were awesome to talk to at Paradise. I could relate a lot. I felt like it was necessary to give you a higher platform. Instagram and things like that only give you a little bit of time to really express things. And I like what comes of people who are willing to listen in long form too, because I feel like they have the moxie to, their attention spans are, I think, what they need to be.
Yeah.
But do you have closing words? Anything that you want to say to listeners, and also where people can find you if they or how to reach out to you, if to reach out to you at all right now? Those things.
Yeah. So right now, I'm on the road a lot. I think I've done like 10 conventions this year. I've got like 7 coming up in the next few months. I'll be at like Richmond Tattoo Convention, Virginia Beach Convention, Paradise Tattoo Gathering, Austin. I'm all over the place. So it's Instagram is usually like probably what I update the most frequently. It's just Art of Gunnar. And then I would suggest, if you can look into the APT. I'm not sure what the website is offhand. So maybe you can somehow put that.
I'll put it in the notes.
But at least start to do the research, because I think they're going to be an organization that can help us in the future. And at least, maybe people can do their research. I don't want to tell people what to do, but do the research on your own and discover if it works, if it feels like a good fit for you. And then, maybe catch me at a seminar at Paradise or wherever. I'll be doing the same seminar. I try and change it a little bit, but I'm trying to hone this seminar. It's mostly like, it's practical stuff, practical tips that I've learned, and it covers everything from like client handling to, longevity and tech, the things I've seen, the ebb and flows of like creativity, the, what's it called when you artist block, like overcome artist block. I talk about like the things that like have either hurdles that I've had in my career, things that have really been beneficial that I've learned along the way. So I'll be doing that at Paradise. I'm doing it at the Richmond Tattoo Convention. I think one more place, but I'm not sure offhand. But so if you can make that, that's always good too. And that's about that. I don't know.
27 is a significant number.
Yeah.
Of tips.
Still alive, so we're doing good.
Gunnar, you're fantastic.
Maybe I overstayed my welcome. I don't know, but
no. I think there's lots ahead, my friend. Yeah. At least I hope so. You're a pleasure, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad we did this. Let's do this again. And if not, I'm going to see you pretty soon anyways, October.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, you have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That's it for Gunnar for now.
I'm sure we're going to see a lot more from him. Definitely I haven't heard enough. I think he's fantastic. Please make sure that you get updated on all of his insights. He does have incredible ones. Art of Gunnar is where you can find him on IG. And he is traveling around quite a bit this summer. But you can be sure to get access to him and talk with him probably if you make it to the Paradise Tattoo Gathering this October, 24th through the 22nd, 24th through the 27th. Yeah. So meet us there in Paradise and come talk to Gunnar. He is a fantastic human. Check out the Alliance for Professional Tattoo Artists or Tattooists. I am definitely going to look more into that myself. And yeah, listeners, appreciate your time. I hope you have a fantastic week. Make it powerful. And God bless.
Thanks for listening. You can find the Apprenticeship Diaries on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our IG is the_apprenticeship_diaries. If you would like to offer constructive criticism or an interview, drop us an email at theapprenticeshipdiaries@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from our listeners.